Hello and welcome to Film Slam Stream's post-film conversation. My name is Eric Siler, and I'm an instructor of film, media arts, and communication, as well as moderator for this conversation. We are very pleased to be joined by the director of this film, In the Long Run, Yousef Assabahi. Yousef Assabahi is an LA-based writer and director. He is an alumni of UCLA's School of Film and Theater and Television. He has written and directed several shorts and commercials that explore cultural identity and collective memories of Yemen's at home and abroad. Hello, hello, Yousef, and welcome.
Hi, Eric. Thank you so much.
It's so good to have you here joining us from LA, but you gave us a great taste of Yemen and what it was like. Why did you decide to develop a story like this and bring it to our attention?
Well, I grew up in Yemen. I grew up in that hometown. I played there, and since I was in film school, well, I mean, since I wanted to make films, I've that hometown was always in front of me. I think my first dreams of becoming a filmmaker was, you know, I was thinking of making movies in that little town, and when the opportunity presented itself, I mean, it really did not. I forced myself into my hometown. My hometown is under a civil war. It's controlled by the Houthi rebels, who are the Taliban of Yemen. Um, and it was like a thought that never wanted to leave. I felt compelled. I couldn't resist it, and I found myself making that film. And I I as much as I'm happy that the world is watching the film has been going to a lot of festivals throughout the world. I really made it for the little kids in my hometown. I wanted them to see themselves, and I wanted them to see their and also my generation to see their memories. And the fact that it's being viewed by other people, and also other kids relating to it from other countries has really been so satisfying.
Well, great. So you said you made it for the children of Yemen. Now, is based on a true story, or is this something that actually could happen?
It's not based on a true story per se, but it's based on true stories. Um, some of it is based on my brother, some of it is based on me, on my neighborhood friends. But I can say that every single scene happened. To whom is a different question. It's a collection of it's a collage of different experiences and stories that I grew up with.
Okay, great. Now let's talk about the story itself. I know you're based in LA. You went to Yemen to actually film this. Tell us a little bit about filming, I guess, a story like this in Yemen. What were some of the challenges that you faced?
Um, well, first of all, you have to understand the paranoia um, around having a camera in a place that is going war, because, and specifically with the Houthi rebels, because the narrative in the Houthi rebels is that anything technological might have a chip that is used for surveillance or whatever. And me going there from America was already surrounded by a lot of excuse me, questions. And when I submitted the script to them, they could not believe that I had flown over 24 hours through 5 days of travel to make a film about a kid who's going to get bread. They just couldn't believe it, and they kept thinking that I'm hiding some agenda behind it. And for 4 months we kept getting shut down, and the production has paused multiple times, because every time someone came from the rebels, they could not believe that this is what we're making. And they would take the memory card, they would watch the film, they would watch the material, and then they would get back to us and be like, okay, you're good, go back and shoot. So that's one. But also the country does not have the basic infrastructure for production. You're limited with the lenses you use, you're limited with the lights you use, you're limited with the camera you use, and you're also limited with the actors. None of my, aside from the mother, actually, the mother is the only one who's performed in soap operas in Yemeni drama TV, but everyone else is from my hometown. They've never stood in front of a camera before. So that was also a challenge. But I had gone there expecting all of this. I had done my research. I read a lot of Abbas Kiarostami, a lot about Iranian cinema, a lot about Italian neorealism, because those filmmakers had worked in similar situations. I read a lot about, you know, Germany Year Zero and Rossellini and De Sica, and you know, in their techniques working in post-war Germany. And I also read about New Iranian cinema, and all of those filmmakers had taught me how to approach a scenario like that, and they proved to be very, very beneficial. For actors, I followed Abbas Kiarostami's techniques working with non-actors, and they were really helpful to me.
Well,
It did take a lot of research, and it was pretty exhausting to make.
I bet. So you were there for you filmed for 4 months, if I'm understanding correctly.
It was supposed to be 3 production days. They ended up being 4 months.
Wow, exactly. That's really so okay, you gained the trust of the locals in filming this. And after you filmed it, did you stay there to edit or you came back to LA to edit? What happened?
Well, the story of making the film had gone so popular in my hometown that every day I would put the camera. There will be 500, 400 kids just around me, and you know, those, sometimes they were excited, and it was helpful, and most of the times it was just kids, you know, ruining the shot. And that in itself was it was, as much as it was irritating, it was really satisfying just to have people sitting around and dreaming about becoming filmmakers. And then I had gone back to the States to work on post-production. All of post-production was done in the States.
Okay. So did you have a chance to actually screen the film in Yemen? And if so, what was the response?
Unfortunately, not in my hometown. In other cities in Yemen that are not controlled by the rebels, the film was screened. I had hoped to play it in a theater in my hometown, but when we approached the local authorities, they wanted to sponsor it, and I was like, you ruined my film. You gave me the hardest time. There's no way we can shake hands and act like nothing happened. So we did not screen in my hometown. However, we managed to show it in small houses and secretly here and there for people to watch it. But overall, in the cities that are not controlled by the rebels, the reception was really. I'm grateful. They were people were generous in the way they received the film.
Good, good. I'm glad that that worked out well, and hopefully word got back to some of the people offering resistance saw that you didn't have any other motives other than make the film. Let's talk about the film itself. The young boy, Amen. You know, how did you find him? Did you go through a casting process, or did you already know him?
Um, so, not Ahmed, because I did not know him, because when I left, he probably wasn't born yet. But some of the actors there are people I had known. Some of them are my friends. My mom is in it. My mom is the voice that talks outside of the. So this is really a community effort, and the casting for most of those actors was just by having coffee with them, playing. I walked around my hometown every day for hours looking for kids, and um kids would be shy and don't know how to stand in front of the camera. But when I first saw him and I asked him his name, He cussed me out, threw a stone at me, and ran. And then I told my friend, I think this is him. I think we found the right one. I want someone who's that confident and who won't be shy. And we chased him for like 2 hours, and we called his dad. I happened to know his dad. I called his dad, and his dad brought him to me. And I was like, I just want to give you money and put you in front of a camera. That's it. I don't want to do anything else. Um, and he was like, can I buy a bike with the money? And I was like, you can do whatever you want. It's gonna be your money, and this is gonna be fun, and try it for one day. Let's have a let's stay together and have a rehearsal. And if you like it, we can go on. And the next day he comes in and his head is already has a band-aid. And I was like, what happened? And he said, oh, I got into a fight with someone else. And I said, okay, if you want to make this film, no more fights. You gotta behave. You can't come to me with with a scar on your face the next day. And he showed up every day, and he ran so much. What you see is one take. Each scene was 10, 15 takes. That kid ran every day for every scene. He was very excited. And after the film, his dad called me and he said, the kid the way he walks has changed. The way he presents himself in school has changed. He's a serious kid all of a sudden. And I think he's had it in him the entire time. He just wanted someone to appreciate it.
Wow, that's a wonderful story. It's a one that's the power of filmmaking.
It really is.
It's impact, not only viewers, but the participants in the film. It's just wonderful. Do you know how he's doing now? Have you kept in touch with him and his family?
Yeah, we've been in touch with him, sometimes in funny ways. There's a funny story. I won an award for the Hollywood Arab Film Festival, and they gave me a trophy, and I posted the trophy, and the kid goes crazy because he's like, oh, this director won golden trophies and he's a millionaire now, and I don't have any of those millions. And so I call him and I said, Ahmed, I am not a millionaire. This trophy is not gold. I didn't give me anything. Look, if I make another film, I'll come and I'll cast you again, okay? And then he got excited again. But yeah, we do keep in touch. And again, I know his father.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I'm glad you stuck with your instincts of pursuing him and trying to cast him, because as a director, you just kind of know when the fit is there. And that's I guess that's good advice for anyone watching who wants to be a filmmaker. Trust your gut.
And don't settle, because I had been looking for about 3 weeks, and at that time I had already been rehearsing with a kid, but it just wasn't. I didn't feel like I got it. I was not happy, and that kid was also excited. He ended up being the one who plays with the beads. I gave him another smaller role, but he was just too shy. And yeah, just don't settle. It's there. Take your time, and it's there. I mean, that experience really proved to me that it's just about persistence, because it's the case with the kid and with the old man, the 82-year-old man. It took me 4 weeks to find them, and I'm glad I waited. Had I been impatient and stuck with the people that I had already cast, it would have been a completely different film.
Exactly. Now, I'm wondering, can you tell us how you may have changed, or did you change the narrative for the film, or any shots because of the resistance you were receiving over the 4 months? How did the story change, or did it change?
It did not change because I was born there. I know how the rebels think. So I had originally written scenes that I know will not find any resistance. I'm from that community. I know what triggers them and what doesn't. But what changed was things in the dialogue, scenes that while I was discussing with the actors, since they are from that hometown, since they are really playing themselves, they had comments, they had notes, and I was like, beautiful, give me those notes. And there are things that were altered because the actor suggested them.
I see. Now, how large was your crew when you were filming on most days?
Or
Four, okay. But still, four is still enough to attract attention for
yeah,
onlookers to
yeah.
ask, what are you doing? And so
Well,
forth.
it wasn't the crew, it was the people. Like I said, we would have 400, 300 kids just standing around watching us. That's what really brought attention to us, and that's what led the rebels to come day after day, because of the people gathering around. And also it became too hard because we're only four people. It became almost impossible to control the crowd, and that halted us a lot of times and distracted us.
Well, so you had people just watching what you were doing because you had your camera person, your sound person, and so forth, and the actors. So that was attracting the attention.
A Slade. People chase the Slade. They're like, oh, Slade, like, like that's something they only see in movies. And that was enough for them. That was enough. Someone yelling action was already wow.
Wow. Yeah, something that they heard about, that they see in Hollywood, and it's actually happening at their
Yeah.
doorsteps.
And
And
also on set, I don't usually say action a lot. I say action, but not a lot. I usually just say, to the actor whenever you're ready, or, please, for like I just talk to the actors. I don't really say action, but I do sometimes. And one day it was just it's when the kid lost the money, and I just wanted to say action. I just wanted him to perform whenever he wanted to enter the frame. And the kids will yell action, action, kids from around the neighborhood who are watching. So when I didn't yell action, the whole neighborhood will yell action because that's what they wanted to hear.
no, I'm curious about the scene. You said you had all these people around. The scene when everyone's like walking together or holding the bed up. Did you cast that, or did you just use extras or people that were standing around?
Well, I that scene was written in the script, so that's a funeral, and I had
Right.
wanted to document a funeral because the funeral in my hometown is not like any other funeral in the country. We chant some verses, and that's very specific to my hometown. And the rebels are trying to suppress it because they think it's against their beliefs. And I had wanted to document that way of honoring the dead before it disappears. And that's actually the scene that got us busted the first time. That's the scene that got us arrested in the first time, because I had gone door to door to my neighborhood, waking people at 7 a.m. and asking them to join me in this fake funeral. And my dad has friends, and I mean it was a community effort. I had called friends, I had knocked on doors, my dad calling friends, my friends calling friends. um but everyone in that was there for that scene. We had done 5 takes in each location, and again with four people crew. Those crowd were really really hard to control, and yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. Um, Knowing what you know now, would you do anything? Would you have done anything different in making this film?
I would have done a lot of things different, a lot of things. But I would do it again. I'm actually writing a feature now that takes place in the same hometown, and my producer is already going crazy because she's like, we barely finished 4 days of production. How are we gonna finish 3 weeks of production? And I have no idea how we're gonna fight with the rebels again. But look, I make TV commercials. I work here in LA. I'm doing good for myself, but that's my meaning. That's why I did this in the first place. That's why I studied film in the first place. And as much as I'm aware of the risks and the dangers of going back, I just cannot resist it. I have tried. Trust me, I don't want to go. I'm happy here. But it's just that force that wants me to go back and go through that experience again. Because despite all the hardships, my community really needs that. It's not even about the film. It's just it's good when you are in when it's dark and depressing and nothing is happening, to see some action just happening, just something to laugh about, something to fight about, and something to talk about. And with the short film, it really created this this excitement in my neighborhood, and everyone was talking about it. And I mean, that's not about me. I'm not taking credit for any of this. I'm not saying that this satisfies anything inside me. It doesn't. It makes me happy that people are involved and are excited.
Absolutely, and I love that's what I love about film, because it's exciting on two fronts. The creation of it is exciting, and the end product it can be exciting too, and it should be exciting. So you win before, during, and after, and making the film. So you say you're working on a feature. When can we expect to see that, or when can we expect this? What can we see from you next?
Um, no, the feature is still, it's still, I'm still flying to festivals for this film. So everything I have so far is the outline, but it's a more serious film. It's not, as easy and light as in the long run, and it takes place in 2008. And it's really about have you seen Inside Llewyn Davis?
I'm sorry, I have
The
not.
Coens brothers. I'm a huge fan of the Coens, and
Mhm.
it's just a film about a guy in his mid-40s who lost his job, and he's walking around the hometown looking for a job, and we kind of experience the worlds that he experiences as he looks for a job. Um, he unlocks a lot of strange worlds for the audience, and but it also shows, I think, what outsiders of Yemen or even the Middle East fail to understand is that just because those people, my people, have been undergoing war for a long time, it does not mean that they are not complex people with dreams and hopes, and they really fight as unseemingly as it might seem. They're fighting inside themselves, and they're fighting despair, and they're fighting, and they're clinging to hope with whatever they got, even when it's false hope. And I want to communicate that. I want to tell the stories of my people who, if the situations were different, would have been completely different, especially the men. um, um, my father and my uncle and my father's friends. And
Well, wonderful. I'm glad you're remaining true to your roots and to yourself, and through the art of storytelling through film. Yousef Assabahi, thank you so much for joining us. I wish you all the best and continued success.
thank you, Eric. And I'm sorry if I rambled. I usually do that, and I hope I didn't talk too much. Thank you so much,
You were
Gabriel.
fine. We enjoyed the information. Thank you. And thank you to our viewers for joining us for this important and invigorating conversation. For more information about our upcoming film festival, please visit us at clevelandfilm.org. I'm Eric Siler. Thank you.